into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
Hello, everyone. Happy September 11th. Are you supposed to say it like that? I don't know. Hi, welcome to Pod. Damn America. It's Twitter's birthday, 9/11. I guess it's like, since our podcast is kind of, dunking on America, it's kind of our birthday. I don't know. Hi, I'm Jake. Alex is here.
Hi, everyone. I'm wearing a spooky costume, and I'm here for my favorite holiday, 9/11.
You dress up for 9/11. I like it. Maybe new tradition. Anders Lee, what's up?
Anders never forgetting Lee here. Was that so? Jeremiah Wright, wasn't his goddamn America thing in response to 9/11?
Was it in response to 9/11?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's where he was like, "Not God bless America, goddamn him." Yeah, I won't do the song you just heard.
Right.
Yeah, how was it? What else does he say?
Yeah.
A lot of truths, shall we say? I mean, he kind of like the Malcolm X "chickens coming home to roost" speech after JFK.
Yeah, and he's dressed up like a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
Dude, I'm getting this started. No one's on board for wearing costumes on 9/11, but next year we're all going to be doing it.
Aren't we all wearing costumes
Right.
on 9/11?
20 years is when it finally becomes funny.
Yeah, that's how
Officially.
Get Gilbert Godfrey on the phone and let him know.
Gilbert Gottfried speaking.
The towers?
The two speeches everyone remembers directly after 9/11, Jeremiah Wright and Gilbert Gottfried, both equally relevant.
You should switch that up for the intro today.
Yeah.
That's what me and my girlfriend next Halloween are going as Gilbert Gottfried and Jeremiah Wright for Halloween.
Going
Perfect
for 9/11.
Perfect couples.
Yeah, going for 9/11. That's when the new trick-or-treating is. Well, they should move Halloween to 9/11 to appease all the anti-Satanist people in America.
We'll get to
I
that
heard
later.
they canceled 9/11 this year because of coronavirus.
Yeah,
That's true.
that's why they did it.
Yeah.
That voice you're hearing, by the way, is our guest today, Jeremy Logan, co-chair of Spokane DSA. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's it.
Hey, man.
And founder of Spokane Area Tenants United as well. Yeah, I've heard that so many times.
Yeah,
I'm
come
sorry,
on,
I couldn't
come on.
resist.
I know. It's like it's that one thing that people have heard their entire life, and you just have to do it.
Well, especially because you're from the Pearl Jam region, right?
Yeah. I am actually grew up in Seattle, so.
Oh wow. Okay.
My friend who's been a guest on this podcast a few times, who's also, many people know him from his band Page 99. His name is Blake Midget. So he's like one of those guys who's like, heard them all, And
Right.
he actually is getting a vasectomy today. And I know that because I ran into him the other day and he was walking around New York yelling into a cell phone. Yeah, like at the doctor. Yes, I want to get my vasectomy on 9/11.
I'm crashing some surgical tools into my balls.
Yeah. They were like, are you sure? Like, it seems just like uncouth, But
I was really hoping you were going to say that Blake is also used to people saying his name like Jeremy from Pearl Jam.
Blake Midget. Whoa.
Doesn't even make sense. Fuck you guys.
Yeah. But he told me that his doctor that's performing his vasectomy is named Dr. Yank. And so he's also like one of those guys.
Wait, Yank?
Yank.
Or Gank?
Yank with a K.
Like Yankee?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And he went into dick science. Or his balls.
I mean, that seems like a name that he may have changed legally to be more, to get the psychological.
His family was wank before they came into Ellis Island.
Yeah.
And they had to change it to make it more American.
Anyway, pour one out for Blake's balls. It's a terrifying procedure from what I understand.
For the surgery he elected to have.
Yeah, we know. We're all gonna wear ribbons and stuff for him.
We'll send the balls to the Spokane Sheriff's Department.
There you
As a
go.
gift.
Great segue, Anders.
Because,
Thank you.
they'll throw them in a van. I don't know if this metaphor works. Jeremy, why don't you tell us what happened to you?
All right, so not this last Sunday, the Sunday before, I was heading down to protest. And to kind of give it a little bit of a backstory, Ozzie Knezovich, the sheriff here in Spokane, has a history of he really wants to be like a hero. He really sees himself as a hero. He's very Trump guy. He ignored the governor's calls to stop working with ICE. He pretty famously pulled a Portland comedian off of a Greyhound bus.
Which one?
Because he was brown. I don't remember the guy's name.
I heard this story.
Yeah, he pulled him off the bus and forced him to prove his identity. And apparently it wasn't good enough, so they had detained him.
Is Ian Carmel?
I don't think so.
I know you. I know you don't work for the goddamn Late Show. I don't know.
I think he had he had an Arabic name.
Funny or Die isn't a real credit.
Yeah, he's just a comedy nerd.
Yeah, and so he also really he's protecting the good white people from the bad brown people, and he is also very serious about Antifa, as you probably know by his 45-minute comedy routine that he did on YouTube.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. It's pretty funny.
Which is unbelievably hilarious. They actually clowned on him on Majority Report yesterday. Somebody sent it to me. It's pretty funny.
Nice.
But
Nice.
so on Sunday, I'm on my way to a protest, and I tell my friend that I'm going to meet him at a certain intersection that I've been parking at for all the protests. Is kind of out of the way, and there's like a punk venue right across the street where they've they're usually there. So I figured somebody would kind of keep an eye on things and make sure nothing happens to my truck. So it's a good, safe place for me to park. And I get out of I call my friend when I get there. I get out of my truck and I'm walking to meet him. And I notice there's this dude. He's looks like a fat, aging bowler. So he's got like a bowler black shirt, like a rockabilly guy that didn't do it right. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Only listens to the Stray Cats.
So David Simon, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he's walking, and I already think he's weird, but the direction he's walking is away from downtown and towards massively free parking everywhere. So it doesn't make sense for him to be parking in this paid parking lot. And I'm like, that is weird. What the hell is he doing? And then I hear my name and I turn around, and a dude that's dressed like militia has a bulletproof vest on and everything and a gun, but with no signia or anything saying that he's with the sheriff's department or anything like that. And another guy that's dressed like a mall cop. And they come running at me and they go, Jeremy. And I turn around. I'm like, what the fuck? And I look back, and the fat bowler rockabilly guy is right in front of me. And he opens up his shirt, and he's got like a row of handcuffs and one thing.
He pulls out like a bowling ball to hit you with, like Mystery Man.
And so I start asking him so what am I being arrested for? And he said, well, you have a warrant in Okanagan County. And I'm like, no, I don't have a warrant in Okanagan County. I know I don't have a warrant in Okanagan County because I never fucking go to Okanagan County. I do know that I do have a warrant, and my warrant is for not paying fines in Douglas County. It's about 3 or 4 counties away. It's nothing that they would extradite me on.
Sure.
I've been pulled over and warned about it, and I keep meaning to take care of it. And I'm slightly irresponsible with some things, and I kind of put things on the back burner. So I'm aware of that. I knew that I had to get this taken care of.
It's also not the kind of warrant where you're usually cornered by 3 armed men in a parking lot.
Right. Unidentified people, one with an assault rifle, and like going to war and doing this whole like secret thing. Like there was also a guy that looked like a homeless man that all of a sudden leapt up and was like,
he's wearing like a
part of the whole
homeless
thing.
ghillie suit. It's just like trash and cardboard. So, surprise!
Like, they did this insanely like they were busting
Capone,
I don't know,
or something.
someone an
Like a
assassin
baby
or something,
like a baby carriage, and like the baby pops out with a gun.
Yeah, it was
He
completely
throws it over.
cartoonish.
It's a cop with like
And then-
a guitar case, and then he opens it. And it's a fucking assault rifle.
Yeah, it was completely cartoonish. So and then a van pulls up, and this like beat up like 90s minivan pulls up, and guys come out of that too, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know, like I didn't pay a fine.
Yeah.
This is what it's for. And they keep trying to misrepresent that too by saying that it's for a felony warrant for failure to appear on a drug charge, on a possession of heroin charge.
Hey,
That
listen,
was the
pal.
original.
You'll think twice before you throw trash in the recycling next time, all right? This is Spokane, Washington.
They take it seriously up in Washington State, recycling.
You seen the Portlandia
Yes,
episode?
yes. So what it was is that my original charge was a possession of heroin charge. It was 9 years ago. I've been clean almost ever since. It's been 8.5 years since I've used any drugs or alcohol or anything. And so I completed all of my DOC,
We'll
all of that
forgive you
shit.
for that.
But yeah, when I got done, I didn't have the money to pay for the fines. And I just started school. So I was living off student loans, and they wanted me to pay these fines that I couldn't pay. And so I said, I can maybe give you $25 a month, $50 a month. And they were like, that's not enough. And told me they would issue a warrant for me. And I said, fine, whatever, like issue a warrant then. And I hung up, and
What's the worst that could happen?
And so I've had a warrant for 8 years that they haven't been able, they don't extradite me on. So I've never been taken in for it. Every time I've talked to a cop and they ran my name, they just told me I had a warrant.
It's like getting a ticket for a parking a bike wrong. Like it's not something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I explain it to my listeners, but you don't have to explain it to me because this exact same things happened to me like a million times.
No, yeah.
I all through my 20s, I lived paycheck to paycheck, and then, at one point, like a couple years ago, I had to get a driver's license after having like living in New York and realizing, oh shit, I'm gonna go on tour, and the person's gonna want me to drive. I had to go back and figure out how to pay off tickets from like some bum ass town in Texas that I was driving through 10 years ago, and the guy pulled me over and stuff. And like, I mean, this is just where the system is sort of set up. It's like it structurally feeds people back into the carceral system just in this way that like, yeah, if you're broke, it's impossible to pay all this shit off. It gives them business,
Without it, I pay like $500 in old fines from when I was still on drugs from 9 years ago.
Jeez. Yeah, that's the thing about it that sucks.
$500 a month
is like it just stacks up and up and up because you miss, whatever date. And I've had that happen. I mentioned bikes earlier, but actually like moving violations on a bike going through a red light in New York City, you get, a $90 fine. And then if you don't have the money, a few months later, it's $600. And it's out of control totally.
Oh, I got caught up in that too with my driver's license because I'm a house painter, so I have to drive to work. I can't, there's no way around it really.
Yeah.
And so I would go to work and I wouldn't have a license because I had gotten it started with one driving without insurance ticket that I couldn't pay. And it's wintertime, I'm not working. So work starts back up. I go start working and pay on before I can pay on the fine, like I get pulled over going to work or whatever. And then it was a continuous cycle. And then they start putting you in jail for driving without a license. Right. And so you do like 10, 14 days.
My old stand-up comedy album opens with a story about that. I got arrested like the week I was going to leave Texas forever and had to go to jail for all my fucking fines. It was it sucked. I was just going to leave them in Texas, but they ended up...
all my adult crimes are because I was suffering from addiction, because I maybe have some kind of mental illness or something that makes me not take care of responsibilities very well, no matter how much hard I try, it seems sometimes. And it's all just being irresponsible or being addicted to drugs. Like
it's illegal to be poor. This is all it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, you can just pay. I paid all this shit off as soon as I started making money, like a year ago. You know, all of a sudden I'm a better.
Right.
I'm a better person now because I had $6,000 laying around. Doesn't make any fucking sense. I think you should be able to file for bankruptcy, like morally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's stuff that there should not be dealt with by a criminal justice system. It should have other systems in place. But so this was just a few weeks ago, which sometimes feels like a long time ago, but COVID was in full swing. And yet you're put in jail, and tell us about some of the conditions you faced in the height, COVID, still very real threat. What was it like to be in jail during that?
Right. Well, there's also two things real quick that I want to touch on. And one is that they never identified themselves. I continued to ask them who they were. I'm looking at their shirts. I'm like, that looks like a police officer's shirt, but there's no signia on it. There's no name on it. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And they said, none of your business. Then the city cop came and picked me up from them, which... the whole thing's weird. And I'm talking to him and I'm like, this isn't how this works. You don't even know if I'm going to be extradited because you haven't called. And he said, those officers told me that you were. And I said, those were officers? And he goes, yep. And I go, what kind of officers are those? And he said, I don't know. And
what?
And so that conversation is recorded too. So that's going to come out at some point.
Maybe they're just going off the same metric we go on. They're like, they must be officers. They look like they're bowlers or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can tell. When you hear it, you can tell.
They look like complete piece of shit assholes, so they must be cops.
One of them was a
They're made out of a series of orbs. They're officers.
So then, they took me in. I'm wearing an ACAB shirt too, which is just perfect. You know what I mean? And one of the cops, like, unironically says, yeah, all cops are badasses. What the fuck?
This is a big phenomenon with cops I think is not talked about enough, which is when they got you, they try out material for a while.
Well, and almost all of them at the Spokane County Jail, all the COs were like 5'5" and 220 pounds, Yeah.
Right.
But like real badasses.
Can I stop and focus on something for a second? Because I'm working on a theory here, right? The bowler guy cop, like whenever you see cops when they have to go
under
their
dad.
Here's what I'm getting at, right? Whenever cops have to go undercover, they don't know how to dress like a human, and part of it, I think, is like last week we were talking about the king of Thailand. Is this guy who like wears crop tops and shit? He just dresses like a complete lunatic because it's illegal to make fun of him, right? So I think this is like a common thing between cops, just people who like aren't. They literally have a gun and you can't be mean to them. They have like no sense of humor. They don't really have any of the things that connect us to other people. So they have these bad jokes. They don't really know how to dress like a normal human. They're like something is seriously going on with disconnecting a group of people from like the rest of society and then trying to insert them back into it. It makes sense that they have their own weird little gangs and clubs and stuff. I don't know. They're dorks is what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah, anytime you have a group of people that are worshipped by a segment of the population, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be some weirdness going on.
Yeah.
When people are like unequivocally like, no matter what you do, I support you, officer.
I guess what I'm saying is, as a comedian, I'm looking at this and going like cops don't realize that being a cop is a bad deal because it's making you into a lamer person because there is value in your friends making fun of you and stuff for the way you dress and shit. Right. And they're being like, criticism, albeit healthy or whatever. So, like, part of the cop mind is I can never be wrong about anything, and my friends all support me no matter what. And that's how we end up with this officer that we'll get to in a little bit and his incredible, he put his own, like, psyche on display in his weird YouTube video he made. And, like, he told on himself a lot, I guess, yes. I'm saying. But go on.
Okay, so when I get into the jail, the cell hadn't even been cleaned. Like the floor hadn't been swept. There was hairballs and shit. The sink had soap scum all over it. The toilet had soap scum all over it. There was food crumbs on the bed. So I'm fairly certain that they just didn't even bother to clean the cell. They just threw me in a cell that someone else had just been sleeping in and on a bed that someone else had been sleeping in.
Sure.
And this is by far my worst jail experience, and I've done a full tour of Washington State jails. And this one was the most nightmarish because it was like too light at night to sleep and too dark the rest of the time to feel like you're alive. I before I was old enough to drive a car, I did 30 days on 23-hour lockdown. But this with the circumstances and everything surrounding it, like my mental health, and I don't like to admit this to them because I really tried not to show them at all that I was bothered by it because fuck them. But within a few hours, like my mental health deteriorated, and I had thoughts of suicide, not like plans or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But I was very upset and unsure of what was going to happen. And if they are willing to put all that effort into me, like what's going on next? What happens from here? And it made me very paranoid. And I started thinking, like, I have my own business and I'm my only labor. I don't exploit labor. So I paint for myself by myself. And I was thinking about all the money I'm going to lose and how if I don't get out right away and they send me to Douglas County for this stupid shit and I'm sitting here on dead time and all of this, I'm losing money. I'm not going to be able to make enough money to store enough for the winter because I don't work in the winter. And so all these fears were in my mind. And then at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, I only know that because the kids told me, but they brought some young guy in there and he slept almost the entire time, but it was just nice to have somebody there. But also they just brought him in. There was no cleaning of the beds before he came in. And when he left, they never cleaned his bed either. And so I was there for a day and a half. And finally, right at the end, they brought me upstairs, which is the nicer area where there's like a rec area and everything. But my cellie at the time told me that we'll be lucky if we get a half hour out every 2 days, because that's the conditions that people are living in Spokane County Jail. A half hour every 2 days. And so they're horrible conditions. They also, they only let me use the phone once. They didn't let me get into my phone to get phone numbers out. Then the whole time I'm there, I'm asking to use the phone, and they said, we'll get to you when we get to you, which is pretty typical of COs. Like, they love to tell you to fuck off. They live for it.
And I assume because of COVID, they're extra careful. They must have given you plenty of masks and hand sanitizer and PPE. Like, they were extra precautious about that, right?
No hand sanitizer. The soap that they give you are those little, Bob Barker tiny little bars of soap. They weren't even wrapped when I got them. Oh, God. And gross. I'm pretty sure there's nothing antibacterial about them or anything. They definitely don't remove odor from stinky people. I can tell you that. And no hand sanitizers. They did give us masks, but then they also packed us in there must have been 12 of us in an elevator. Jesus. So we're all, he's like, cram in there. So we're all bunched up, touching each other, holding our blankets and shit. And so, I mean, yeah, masks was the extent of it. You could tell a lot of them didn't really take it seriously. You could tell by the conversations that I would overhear while I was sitting in my cell and trying to stare at them because I had nothing else to look at. And if you ever walk through a jail, it's the creepiest looking thing because everybody's face is just peeking through this small little glass, trying to look and see what's going on out there if they hear something. Yeah. And everybody from outside of a cell looking in, everybody looks crazy.
Right, but it's because you're the thing to look at.
Right. Yeah.
I have I may have had an experience with this where I was one of the only Caucasian people in the jail, and as I entered, everyone was hooting and hollering and saying, Bobby, Your mom's gonna be mad, Bobby.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
You're like, I have a
funny.
girlfriend. I have a girlfriend. Yeah.
But one thing that like really stuck out to me about this story and that I found like really sketchy is that like as you said, they didn't show badges when they arrested you, and they also got the counties mixed up. But the sheriff's office is like seemingly is maintaining that they were sheriff people, but it seems pretty plausible that they may have been feds. Do you have any like inkling as to who these guys were?
They did at one point while I was in jail, I was pulled out for court, and I walked through this long path, and then I get to the end, and there's two guys waiting for me. One of them looked like the DEA agent from the like brother-in-law from Breaking Bad.
Oh,
He
yeah,
looked just like him, but fatter and dumber.
No, that character was very well cast because there are a lot of those dudes.
Oh yeah,
I've discussed this before. It's San Antonio Uncle is the like type of Latin dude who joins ICE.
I mean, a lot of them look like friend of the show Blake Majette. Not as as handsome, but you know, they all have that type.
So when I talked to them, they told me that federal agents wanted to talk to me, and if I'd be willing to talk to them. And my initial reaction was just I was pissed. So I said, "Fuck no," and then they said, "Okay, well, send him back." And I'm like, "Fuck," because I just got out of my cell. Like I've been in there for over a day now, and I'm like, I want to at least talk to somebody, you know. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this happening? Like, why was I picked up in an unmarked van that wasn't built for policing at all? And I hate to backtrack, but at one point they were trying to figure out where to put me. And one of them said, put him in the van. And he said, I can't. It's full of guns.
Whoa.
What?
I forgot to mention that big
Seems
highlight
like a
there.
huge detail.
I know, but I think it's like ADD or something. I can't.
Oh man, if they had made that mistake and this just went on a totally like renegade action movie direction, where you bust out of the windows,
cool,
you're double wielding, that would have been.
Was it a gun and like a baby seat in the back of the van next to you? No, just move that, you know.
So at that point, he was like, "Oh, I don't know, just talk to them. Maybe they have something good for you." And I was like, "No, I'm not talking to the federal agents," because I was protecting myself because I did know that my mental health was like on shaky ground, and I'm pretty solid these days. You know, I'm a happy person. I have great friends. Like I'm not poor for the first time in my life. You know, at 40 years old, I'm finally not poor.
And you're a socialist. That's what it does to you. Social.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels good.
Yeah. It does feel good. I got like real people in my life, you know, real friends, not fake friends.
That's the Facebook outreach line we're using.
So, anyway, they sent me back to my cell, and I sat there and just really started going crazy at that point, because now I'm like, fuck, feds are trying to talk to me and everything. Like, what do they think I'm a part of, you know?
Right.
And if the thing about cops is if they think that you're a bad guy, that justifies anything they do up to that point. So if they're planting evidence on you, or they're beating you up, or they're framing you for something, it's totally justified because you're the bad guy. And that's how Sheriff Ozzie has worked to really paint me in the media, is that I'm the bad guy. And then all these there's like 20 right-wing rags that have picked up this story, and they all use this one picture of me where I have a bandana on because of COVID, and I'm wearing a Malcolm X shirt where he's holding a gun and it says "mood" underneath it. And so they went through my Facebook, and that's the picture they all used, except one rag, which is probably Christian, had a picture of me like waving my finger, and I had a shirt that said "Not today, Jesus" on it.
It's something scarier than a black revolutionary with a gun.
Yeah.
Satan, yes.
Talking back to Jesus.
Yeah,
man, they're so easy to scare. Those people are so dumb.
Oh yeah, because they live in a total fantasy world, and they don't have any desire to understand anything outside of their little bubble.
It's funny, like a lot of the like Andy No fan art and shit like that depicts like Antifa guys as having you're dressed in black but you have a red bandana for some reason, which is like sure it happens, but they were kind of stuck on it, and it's making me realize that like retroactively the boomer brain is going to eventually get really angry at like Twinkie the Kid and like all these old bandana like unpoliticized bandana things from the past, you know? Like
all the like kid cartoons from the 50s and shit.
Yeah, like they just hate an item of clothing now because it's associated with this thing that they've built up in their brain. Is like, you know, we'll get to that anyway. It's supposed.
If he's not delicious, why is he hiding his face?
Yeah, why would he not want me to see his face? He doesn't want me to. Doesn't want us to know what he's done.
Right.
Yeah.
So you probably didn't know how long you were going to be in there.
No idea. And as far as I knew, I wasn't going to be extradited either. And as far as I knew from that, if they were already holding me on a warrant where I wasn't going to be extradited, maybe they're just going to hold me indefinitely and really fuck with me and to try to get me to talk. And I have no desire to talk to federal agents. I don't have anything to hide, but I don't want to give them any information that they're going to try to use against somebody else. Right. Because they're psychos and they don't know what they're doing. They're stupid and incompetent most of the time. And they have like real horse shit theories about everything. And so, yeah, I just don't want them, you know, I'm not going to give them any ammo to hurt anybody.
And so do you think those guys who initially arrested you were sheriff or were they like DHS or someone?
I have no idea. We're going to find that out.
Okay.
Because we put in a request. So we're going to go through all the public records and everything, find out who the officers were and check to make sure that they're even sheriff's office. Because I originally just assumed they were DHS. Yeah. And he's claiming they're his. And partly too because of the incompetence, because you know I've read about how poorly DHS is trained. But our sheriff now, like he really hates training too, so he's really against training right now. He's fighting to make sure that officers don't have to get as much training.
Wasn't there
boring.
I read that he is, he doesn't want the sensitivity training or whatever, but he is in favor of whatever that outsource stuff is, where they bring in like the warrior training or what it's like some variation of that.
The guy who trains them to kill without feeling.
Right. Yeah, and if you ever watch any of that guy's videos, the Killology videos, he spends a lot of time talking about how, first of all, the first thing they do is watch like a half hour of cops being killed.
I hate pretentious cops that call it killology. You're a kill tender.
Yeah.
Does anyone get this joke? Anyone?
It becomes a coffee table book with like someone with a bow tie on the front.
I went to school for killing. It wasn't an apprenticeship.
Joke about mixology. I don't know if that read to anyone.
No, yeah, okay, I was trying to go run with it.
All right. I was like, is this gonna make any sense?
Yeah, I went to Killology school.
All right, yeah. Oh, right. Because of fucking bartending school, yeah.
Yeah,
they make you measure the blood in like ounces and shit. This is too inside baseball. You work as a bartender for long. You understand what I'm saying.
I just hung out in a lot of bars, so.
In bartending school, they often teach you to measure liquor in like a different measurement than it is measured in the U.S. So if you work at a bar, especially if you run a bar and you hire people, you get these people that have never worked, but they say, I went to this school, and then they measure shit in like milliliters and stuff. Right. Like, what the fuck? This is America. We do ounces here.
That's why a lot of bars, when they're hiring, will put up a notice that's like, if you went to bartending school, do not apply.
Right. It's like you have to untrain these people. It's like it's like cops. It's like Killology.
Right. It's like
like drugs. Once you start buying enough, you go to the metric system.
Mm-hmm. True, yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's like on a Breaking Bad level. They're on another level of bartending you can't even fathom yet.
Well, anyway, okay, so let's get back to Officer Ozzie. What the fuck is his name?
He's the sheriff, isn't he?
Ozymandias.
We just call him Sheriff Ozzie usually, but it's Knezovich.
Knezovich. Sheriff Ozzie
Knezovich.
Knezovich. So he likes the killology training. He doesn't want sensitivity training. This guy is okay. Sounds like he's got his own vision of what he thinks the Spokane Police Department should be.
Warriors for God.
Yeah. And he's working. I mean, so it's unclear whether or not this was feds, but like they asked you at one point to talk if you wanted to talk to the feds. It sounded like they were going to try to coerce you from there. I guess is what I'm hearing.
For sure.
Like, do you want to get out of jail? Come talk to the feds. Probably incriminate yourself. So you probably made the right move by just sticking it out.
Right. Even if you only made it because you were pissed off or confused or whatever, I was amazed at how clear-headed the decision was.
Well, they really do.
A lot of people would have been like, sure, anyone. I'll talk to anyone.
I mean, but I've been arrested like 40 times. So,
yeah.
And by the way, none in the last 8.5 years, which is a pretty good run, but
I'm also, I think we're like similar types of dirtbag because I've also been arrested a lot. And I've been thinking about that lately because I live in Brooklyn and I'm on Twitter a lot. And so there's like, sort of like a radicalization Olympics. Like, oh, I've been a socialist since fucking 2010. You were a Bernie. Bernie turned you into a social. I think about that all the time because I'm like, really, really, when I started thinking like that I really hate the government, it's probably when I got arrested a million times when I was like 18, and then all this stuff came from there. So I always get mad at people who are, Nothing will radicalize you more than being in fucking jail. It's horrible, and you start to think about it.
For
and
real,
you're like,
for
what
real.
the fuck is this? Why does this exist?
Yeah. But it probably started for me when I was like 13 and drinking Mad Dog 2020 at a Moral Crux show in Wenatchee. So
nice.
That's probably when it started. I hate the government.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because you
This is
realize
an age gap thing. I am Googling Mad Dog 2020.
Oh man. What were you? What was your life like?
At the time in the 90s, it was like $30 or $3, and you and your best friend could get hammered.
I have
yes, you have to understand. I'm only 16 years old. So
I know it, I only know it because of the Elliott Smith song.
I have a Mickey's malt
that
liquor
it?
tattoo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I don't know if they have
There
that
you
up
go.
there. The regional 40s.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So are you pursuing like legal action? I mean, you did the smart thing, which is not talking. And like, even if anyone is in this situation, like, I think the thing to do is ask for a lawyer, even if you can't afford one yet,
let's expand on that just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, everyone should really, really take it seriously to not talk to police.
Right.
They will never help you. They will always lie to you. I put out a post as soon as I got out. I said, I've never had an activist or an organizer lie to me about anything important. I've never had an officer lie or tell me the truth about anything important. So officers always lie.
Yeah.
Always lie.
they're playing a different game, Like you're trying to get out, they're trying to put you in. Why would they tell you the truth?
Yeah, they tell you that your friends have snitched on you. They tell you that they already know the story. They tell you they'll tell you that you're going to go away for life, or you're going to do 2 years or 3 years, and you're going to want to do anything you can to get out. And the best thing you can do is shut up.
Yep.
And call your friends when you can.
Just think of Adriana from The Sopranos. All of that shit could have been avoided if she hadn't let herself get, intimidated by the FBI when they,
And they had nothing on her. Yeah.
Right.
The Rosa Luxemburg
I just rewatched
of the
that right now.
2000s.
Why is everybody rewatching The Sopranos right now? How did that happen?
It's fucking Twitter.
It's the 20-year thing. It's 20 years. Things become,
what we're doing with Twitter is we're constructing like a one personality that we all worship, like a that Wicker Man type thing. Like it's just a one set of movies. John Wick, The Sopranos. It makes no fucking sense. The liberals do it with Harry Potter, but we're doing the same thing. All right.
Right.
Everyone read Dune. Everyone. What happened? What's going on? I don't buy it.
I never read Dune.
I did.
I read Dune. I'll
it.
say it. I read the book.
I read the first one. It was pretty good.
I think about it all the time.
I can't do. It's too elaborate for me. I need mafia stuff instead.
Finally, somebody comes out and they say it. They can't handle it. They can't handle all the intrigue.
I'm never watching Sopranos. I'm just gonna put that out.
Really?
there. I do like Dune.
I'm
sure it's good.
I'm gonna do the fucking annoying thing and be like, well, I was watching it before, blah, blah, but it is a landmark show that's, I think, pretty brilliant.
I'm sure
You've always been very curious about Italians.
That is, yes.
You want to know more about their mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring the
interesting.
conversation back now.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
you had this stint. How long were you in for in total before you got out?
It was a day and a half or so.
Okay, right. And then you get out. You have an article come out in the Huffington Post,
Right.
describing essentially what happened to you. And then they reach out to the sheriff's department.
Yeah. Do you have that clip?
I'll put a marker. Who can put it? I'll stick it into the episode.
I don't even know what clip to refer to because essentially the sheriff puts out essentially like a clapback video where he does a press conference for 45 minutes and then
It's
just
the
yells.
dorkiest thing in the entire world.
I didn't know that you could do this, that you just get everyone together and then yell at the newspaper.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're the sheriff.
Let's talk about this. I'll link it for anyone who wants to watch the full 45 minutes in the show notes. But to wrap
is
it up
comedy.
for you, it's
amazing.
insane. The sheriff in question here just made like a special, like a Q&A type thing, like a presentation. He did like Hannah Gadsby's second comedy special with the PowerPoint. You know what he did? You got the fucking sheriff of Spokane to do alt comedy at you. He was using like PowerPoint
His
slides and stuff.
cadence on this.
If it was
His
irony, oh
cadence.
man, yes.
His cadence in the video is verbatim like Tim and Eric voice from 2006 the entire time. It's like, is that something you'd want to happen to you?
He's like, look, if you look here in Portland, these guys have this symbol, and if now you go to Spokane, these guys also have this symbol. Like that was his. Like, yes, they're Antifa, and they came from Portland.
Individual. And Daniel, I'm going to give you the entire slide deck so you don't have to worry about it. This individual, Chris Caesar, says that he's worked in for the Washington Post, Boston Globe, a few others. Sent me this saying, hey, have some intelligence to share about Antifa. They effing rock. You tell me that the media isn't biased towards Antifa or in favor of. These are journalists, folks. So I said, hey, you free for a call? And he laughs and says, no, I have a real job. Not the first time I've heard that slam. Job becomes really real when you have a baby die in your arms. I guess people don't remember or realize what your law enforcement does for you. But I thanked him for the nice optic. And he sent me that. These are journalism. These are journalists. National, Washington Post type.
Yeah.
He has a slideshow behind him the whole time. There's a lot of things spelled wrong, which I felt like is an easy base to cover before you do a press conference. The first 6 minutes involves a SpongeBob meme that someone sent him.
Well, it's funny because part of his point he's trying to make, part of his big thesis is that this is all the work of, like the outside agitator thing. We've talked a lot about how this is clearly advantageous for them. They can't really just black bag people and go after American citizens unless they've come up with this narrative that this is part of a attempt by a foreign government to infiltrate some sort of organization or whatever. So he keeps talking about how, they're not from here. They come from other cities. This is clearly a thing that is advantageous to him. But in order to sort of put the whole story together, he's really getting at what is essentially a conspiracy theory. Like he believes that he can't prove it, but there's some level of organization that he keeps alluding to, and that, at the end of the day, obviously this is another dumb, fucking weird cop.
And at the same time, my arrest was not political at all.
Right. It's weird because he kept saying the thing that I thought was really weird is he does a Q&A and somebody asked him about it, and he's saying your arrest was not political. He arrested you because you had a felony warrant, and that also because your rhetoric was increasing and getting more dangerous and stuff. And he starts pulling up like your Facebook page and pointing to jokes you made and shit like that. And But then he says that the arrest was not political. So really, like, I'm not trying to reason with this. Obviously, that's insane. But like, if the arrest was just about the warrant, but you're also worried that this guy's a terrorist, then why did you just arrest him for the warrant and let him go? Like,
he called my Facebook. He called my Facebook posts ISIS-like.
Because you had a sword in one of them, right? It was a cool sword that you were showing.
There's a picture of me with my shirt off holding a machete, and it said something about like being ready for the zombie apocalypse or something.
Yeah,
that's what they took. Like I was threatening or something.
I mean, is this guy?
Because I did say that I wanted to take the heads off of those pigs with a handsaw, but I was specifically talking about the Colorado cops that murdered Elijah McClain.
McClain, yeah.
Right. And this is also a phenomenon that I think a lot of people are going to go through, and a surprising number of people like in this chat right now have gone through, where you're in trouble and then an enforcement or an authority figure finds your tweets and reads them back to you.
Right, and
there's no way to cover for that shit.
I mean, it's at some point it really just raises the question: is like saying like, why I oughta, is that a fucking threat? Because these are fucking jokes and colorful language and stuff, and like, I mean, you could imagine a situation in which like this police officer is, you know, investigating like fucking Vinnie Barbarino from the fucking Welcome Back Kotter show or something. Those people are always threatening to, you know, hit each other with a rubber hose or whatever, you know? That like this is the way people communicate with each other. We use like violence in a comedic way all the fucking time, but if this is now grounds for grabbing anyone off the street, well, yeah, then the premise that we have like a fair and just free speech fucking whatever society is completely out the fucking window. It's like the warrant thing, right? Have anyone having a fucking warrant out is a reason to black bag them, and in combination with that, if they've ever fucking made a joke, you know, that was maybe a little bit you know, dicey or whatever, then...
Well, in this guy's defense, he's not the best at picking up on humor all the time. There's an email about 6 minutes in that is from Chris Caesar, another friend of the show, who's like says that he's a journalist for, what was it, the Boston Globe, Washington Post. Yeah, he just makes up and says that like Antifa slaps or something.
He said I have something very important to tell you about Antifa. They fucking rule.
Yeah. And then Sheriff Ozzie is like, and this is a Washington Post type journalist sending this out.
He said, and these are journalisms.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Again, you have to see the video because there's these long pauses after this stuff where it's like journalisms ...
Yeah, I mean, like the bowling shirt I was talking about. You also notice cops can never talk because like the way that you develop an accent, you know, is from speaking with other people in a community. Cops have their own like dialect and shit like that because they just talk to each other. So you notice he keeps saying white supremacist. Like he can't sound out the word supremacist. It's really odd.
Yeah. And there's only apparently one kind of white supremacist, and that is those who make terrorist threats. Because you can't possibly be just part of a system that has been built on white supremacy and you are enforcing it.
Well, watching this come out of a cop's mouth is like peak, you know, whatever, the irony or whatever, because it's, you're looking at him and you go, haven't you ever seen the Am I the Baddies sketch from Matt Mitchell and Webb Look? Like you're doing it right now, you know, you are the fucking white supremacist. You're the arm of white supremacy, you know?
Yeah.
Well, so this guy takes exception to himself being called white supremacist, as he says. And I would recommend everybody watch the video and also look at the YouTube comments, which he goes out of his way to respond to. And
he can't not respond to anything that somebody says.
He deleted all of my friends' comments.
Really? Yeah. Oh, wow.
And he says he's not a fascist.
Yeah. He also says he's not mad. He's actually laughing.
Some random like YouTube account with a Darth Vader emoji calls him a fascist, and he says, "Thank you for showing you didn't watch the video, and due to your own biased, ill-informed beliefs, you have no actual argument."
This is a guy who literally knows nothing about what he's talking about and telling everybody else that they don't know what they're talking about. Like he's an expert on something he's never even actually bothered to learn about.
Well, that's what I'm curious about, because this region of just the United States, because, you know, Idaho, I believe, is not too far from Spokane, and that there's just kind of this section there. Spokane, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That's there's like a heavy. There is a pretty. It's kind of a hotbed, or it has been historically for a long time.
And
white supremacists. And do you have an indication that they have infiltrated the Spokane police or sheriff's department, as of course we know they have in other police departments throughout the country?
I have friends that literally like work professionally doing like learning about that kind of stuff and what's going on there, and they only kind of give us information when we need it, you know. But I would suspect, you know, like in the 90s, Hayden Lake had a compound on it, a Nazi compound, and there's been Nazi compounds all over the Northwest,
right?
You know, so they all over, especially Washington. So they've been everywhere, but the Northern Idaho one was huge, and then
Ruby Ridge was sort of close to that. Yeah.
Randy Weaver killing 2 federal agents, but because they were stalking him,
right?
Like it was their fault.
I have another quick tangent. There is another amazing YouTube video of Randy Weaver, like on the 20th anniversary or something of Ruby Ridge, and there's this guy who plays a song for him about the Ruby Ridge incident, and it's like insanely graphic about someone plays a song for him about his wife getting shot in the head, and he's just like sitting there and listening to it, and he just like puts his head down with his like hand over his eyes, just like clearly still traumatized.
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't know where he ended up politically, but I know he was like, you know, leaning into the white supremacy people a little bit right before that all happened.
It sounds like he's doing good.
Is he?
Well, it is really a sad story, because he was sort of like entrapped into being I don't want to make excuses for him, but like
right.
He is, now he's just a puppet for the nationalist right.
It's one of the problems with white trash guys, you know, like, and I can say that because I'm a white trash guy. I grew up in poor white trash. And so most of my friends were growing up, and you're left out by society. But at the same time, the only thing people say about you in the media is make fun of you. And it's totally cool. And so a lot of those people are like, well, fuck that. Like, I get picked on by the cops too.
Hey, pal, I might not be a redneck.
Right. Well, and you know, they're getting shot by police too, and they're being beaten and all this other kind of shit, and kind of nobody really looks out for them, and if they mention it, they're chastised for it. So we kind of leave poor white trash people out, and then white supremacists have a very good time just picking them up.
Yeah, you know, like, obviously it's kind of problematic territory to, you know, get into the white working class narrative, the idea that Trump was elected solely by that group of people or whatever. It's just got narrative pitfalls in terms of like the media and stuff like that, but it's definitely a thing. It's a real part of it, and it's something that the answer to could be socialism, right? Because what you're talking about is people who are fucking poor, disenfranchised, and you know, the reason for that is capitalism, right? But we could, you know, I guess what I'm getting at is, you know, primed for revolution is what these people kind of are, and you could kind of pitch them that. You could say, hey, like, there's a reason your life sucks, but it doesn't happen because we live in fucking Cold War hangover America. So what they get is a fucking Nazi that comes along and goes, actually, the reason that this all sucks is because, you know, the liberal media, cancel culture, immigrants, all this stuff, you know, they're trying to shove cultural Marxism down your fucking throat and all this stuff. And like, if you don't have the narrative, the truth, that it's your fucking boss and it's the people with all the money, that shit makes a lot of sense. As a comic, I understand it because I have a lot of friends who, like, you know, before things really got divided really hard, like I had a lot of friends that were on the other side of the line of this sort of shit and really like believed in the, you know, the cancel culture stuff. And I don't think they realized how close that stuff creeps into this other narrative, the Nazi shit or whatever. But it's compelling. Like, liberals are fucking annoying. They're a great scapegoat, you know?
Yes, we all know that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's maybe get back to Sheriff Ozzie a little bit and just sort of round out exactly what his deal is, because he's pretty funny. Anders, you had brought something else up about him.
Yeah, this was a very valid update Anders found.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can find it. It's in our chat somewhere. He was part of a TV show called Live PD.
The Osbournes.
The Osbournes. No, there was an A&E cop reality series called Live PD, which was
brutal fucking show.
There's a Citations Needed episode on this show and on how, like,
there's an entire podcast about it.
Really?
Called Running from Cops. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they actually, like, got people killed, like, because, like, factors were introduced because they were filming the show and they wanted to, you know, like, generate content and stuff. Caused more crime to happen, oddly enough. Propaganda, obviously really bad, but so the headline here is Sheriff Knezovich decries cancel culture after axing of controversial A&E cop reality series Live PD, which is so funny because, like, like this thing I'm describing, right, with the boogeyman of Antifa and cancel culture and all this stuff obviously lives in this guy's head, but B, like, that term comes from TV shows this is actually a case of, like, cancellation. Like, your TV show just got canceled.
Yeah.
You're blaming on this
beautiful
abstract problem. But it's like, that's, like, allowed to happen, dude.
Right? Yeah. And it was particularly brutal because they were targeting people who were good for TV. Right. So they had, you know, any town you're in, if you work a neighborhood, like, you know who's in trouble all the time. And so they had people picked out that would make for good TV, that would give them the reaction that they wanted, and arrest that same person over and over and over and over on TV. So there was, like, one woman that was a meth addict, and she just kind of went with it, but she would say a bunch of hilarious shit. And so they would just go arrest her, like, hey, we have no one to arrest. Let's go arrest the lady that's going to act all crazy on TV. Yeah. And they would just go after her over and over again. She's just been harassed and brutalized by these people, and she needs fucking help. And they're making a TV show out of it, and everybody gets to sit at home and laugh about the crazy woman that's on meth, you know. And she was like a nice person.
Yeah,
just fucked.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I was thinking about during the press conference too. Is like, if you take constitutional rights seriously in the Constitution, which I don't, but if you do, like, what this guy is doing is just making a mockery of his office by, you know, in theory, a sheriff should not be politicizing a press conference, should not be advocating, like, people's civil liberties being violated from shows like Cops and Live PD. But is the fact that he's getting distracted with, like, petty bullshit kind of better than what he would be doing otherwise, than being like a buttoned up, just down to business, let's go out and tackle some black people sheriff?
Right.
Like, is this
I'm kind of hoping that him being distracted by my shit posting and making fun of him constantly is keeping him so distracted that he can't do the brutal fucking shit that he, like, wants to do.
Yeah. I mean, this is a case of a person who's in charge of a very dangerous thing, a police department, essentially incorporating his job into, like, a Twitter meltdown. I mean, he's showing slides of people that tweeted mean things at him, people that are clearly trolling him and stuff. Maybe we just keep fucking with him. You know, he doesn't do his job very well. We gum up the works. I like it. I
mean, that works with the other white supremacists, you know, Patriot Prayer and all those guys to keep them distracted fighting Antifa and fucking Portland. They're not out there killing black and brown people or bombing fucking buildings.
Yeah, posting is anti-fascist. Huh?
It's all been leading up to this. I guess the scariest part of this whole story for me is what they highlight in the Washington Post article, which is the fact that you were essentially grabbed off the street by 3 mysterious individuals who you later were told were police officers, could one day just be white supremacists in costumes just abducting people. And it's never really addressed by the police department, even though he had a whole press conference about it. And
he called that a wild conspiracy theory.
But he didn't talk about it at all. He just said it and then said some other stuff and then closed the book on it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how is it a conspiracy theory to say, hey, if you're coming up in a minivan and kidnapping somebody without identifying yourself, and they hear and people hear about it and say, oh, that's what the cops are doing. So the only reason I went quietly is because I knew this had happened in Portland. And I'm like, holy fuck. Like, why is this happening in the Spokane? Like 2 windows got broken at one of our protests. You know, like some people stole some shit from Nike and good, fuck them. And then also Wells Fargo lost a window. And then there was some graffiti and they're acting like this was out of town Antifa and all this shit. But anyway, what was I?
So the press conference, what he says is, of course, we used an unmarked vehicle. If we used a marked vehicle, he would know we were going to get him.
Yeah, and I would have gone. I would have just gone with him.
It subverts the entire idea of the police as like an official law and order force.
Yeah, well,
and so
the other thing, good.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say is, like, I guess by this cop's own logic or whatever, you know, there's this question hanging in the air of, like, if you are so afraid of Antifa being this, like, scary terrorist organization, doesn't the precedent of police black bagging people without identifying themselves also set up a situation in which left-wing terrorists, in theory, could black bag people without identifying themselves? But they know that's not fucking happening.
So what I would do is put myself in a white supremacist shoes and train of thought right now. And if you're thinking, hey, how do we get some notoriety? Well, there's this dude who's in the media now all the time because he got arrested by unidentified cops. So if we go and black bag him ourselves and take him ourselves, he's going to think we're cops because this already happened to him. And we can throw him in the back of a van and drive him up to the mountains and tie him to a chair and beat him or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Why is that an odd thing to say? How is that like some crazy conspiracy theory? That literally opens up that door for other people to do it.
Yeah, and he just had like zero answer for it. Really interesting kind of peek into the inside of this guy's mind, you know? I mean, everything he started off this press conference by explaining that he also has fought Nazis a bunch of times, apparently, right?
Matt Shea.
He's their greatest enemy.
Yeah. I guess in his mind, he's like, you know, if you go too far to the right, there's extremism. You go too far to the left, there's extremism. He's the police, the thing in the middle that is, you know.
Well, and that's the thing. Like his officers at the first protest, too, were like laughing and joking with militia guys and then beating, tear gassing, and arresting protesters. So there's a huge contrast there. And they say it was because they were out past curfew and they told them they were out past curfew. But there was no, I mean, they made up the curfew about a half hour before they started enforcing the curfew and started just tear gassing everybody and shit.
Also, militia guys also out past curfew.
Right.
Yeah, also, exactly. That was my point. Sorry.
He goes through all these slides.
That back.
He goes through all these slides of protesters, and he's identifying like the fucking iron front symbol on Antifa people and shit, which is fucking old German. It's been used in anti-fascist shit forever. It's from fighting fucking Nazis in Germany in the beginning, right? But he also keeps identifying like people wearing gas masks and like having leaf blowers and stuff like that. And he's like, why would you need to bring these if you're not violent? Those are for fucking defense from the tear gas.
Because you're violent, motherfucker.
Yeah. What are you gonna attack somebody with a leaf blower? It blows air. It's the whole fucking point is defense.
Yeah, he was like, oh, and they like to pretend they're medics.
They
Why would
are
you need a
medics.
gas mask? And he goes, why would you need a gas mask if you're a medic? Because you're fucking tear gassing medics, you piece of shit psycho.
It has the same vibe of the you wouldn't steal a car. You wouldn't download a movie. Why do you need a leaf blower? Maybe my all-time favorite moment of the entire thing is when he's like, so he's trying to bury you publicly, and he's got all your tweets up and stuff, and then he's talking about how he's been fighting fascists, and his like energy comes down, and he's like, if Jeremy Logan, if he's against racism, where was he when I was picking up flyers? By the KKK. It's like you're supposed to know so much about his life story to understand this press conference. It is useless.
Like, why would I be picking up white supremacist flyers wherever you are when I gotta paint houses? I paint houses for a fucking living.
Where was like he? You work there. It's very confusing.
Where was he when I watched Bad Boys and applauded at the end in the movie theater? And it was starring two African Americans. Where was he?
Yeah. And like, let's forget about all of the work I've done, like organizing protests and helping tenants in need that are disproportionately Black and brown, Native American a lot here, where I've gone. I organized an entire building and forced the landlord to pay us almost $20,000.
Wow.
I've literally pulled money out of my own pocket on my weekends and rented a truck and moved people myself. Like, this is the kind of shit that I do all the time. And I don't get paid for it. I lose money on it. He gets paid to be a cop. Like, so what if you go and remove flyers? And he probably didn't even do, like, he went there. He didn't go himself and remove the flyers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, he had his other pig friends do it.
Yeah. Also, removing
it's like when you go to a restaurant and... I'm sorry, you go.
I mean, good job removing a flyer, but that is not the peak level of fighting the Ku Klux Klan, you know? Guns and shit. Like, a great job you took down a fucking, a flyer for a screwdriver show or some shit. That sounds very dangerous.
Well, it's funny to me, at the end of the press conference, he is like continuously saying like that there's a conspiracy and he wants to find out who's funding Antifa. And the reporter, it feels like there's one reporter you can't see any of the journalists there, but it's like there's basically one guy the entire time who's asking questions who he keeps referring to like Daniel. Daniel can be frustrating for me too. and he actually does a pretty good job of asking him like, saying to him, this is a conspiracy theory. Like, you have no evidence that there's anyone backing Antifa financially. Like, what are you suggesting here? And he's like, well, we saw people in multiple places. So there were people in Spokane, and then we saw some of them in Portland. So that means that there is $1 billion behind this operation, just like by virtue of the same people in different places. Like, he's
not a detective, he's a sheriff. It's unreasonable to think he could put that together.
Damn, Daniel.
He's also talking.
He's sitting on that for 30 seconds.
But he's like, the things he's talking about are high-speed radio and like a fucking motorcycle helmet or a bicycle helmet, like that's all, or gas masks. Like, it really is that he thinks, well, socialists don't have jobs. So if they don't have jobs, they can't afford a bicycle helmet for $30.
Yeah.
Like, that's the extent.
Like, somebody has a fucking walkie-talkie, and that's evidence that George Soros must have funded this, because there's no way people could have just done this on their own, right?
like
greater
$80
indication.
copies.
It'd be a greater indication of like outside funding if they just had like Vietnam era equipment for some reason. And to call in the protest by clicks.
Yeah.
And it is funny though, he truly is a moderate because he's saying, it might be Soros, might be a foreign government like my bosses, the Russians who are doing this. He's like kind of trying to appeal to both parties here.
Can you get your bosses to give us some walkie-talkies? That'd be cool.
I'll try. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to have Yeah. I don't know how far they can reach, but if we're ever,
I wish they would pay my rent so I could just be a professional revolutionary.
Yeah. To put a pin in this
seems like
thing.
way better than painting houses.
Yeah. Right. You're fucking painting houses. Where's the money, right? Kind of put a pin in this thing. Yeah, one of the last things that Daniel, the reporter or whatever, asks him is, he tries to put it in context for the guy and go, like, how is this not a conspiracy theory? And then, Sheriff Ozzie responds by saying this thing about, you can see people are popping up all these different cities. It has to be, an outside agitator. It has to come from above, right? And then Daniel, the reporter, kind of draws him a metaphor and goes, do you remember the ice bucket challenge, right? Remember how that happened all over the place? Like, things can happen all over the place organically, for reasons other than the Russian government. And he just melts down over that. He's like, but this isn't the ice bucket challenge at all. This is another thing. It was like, you see this in like fights on the internet all the time. People go, you're saying this is exactly the same. No, I'm fucking comparing the two things, but it's a pretty, it is a pretty succinct metaphor. I mean, the ice bucket challenge is a meme. So it just happened because, it's a joke that got passed around and it had a root cause, which is people were raising money for ALS or whatever. But like the cops and people that tend to look at this as, through the media lens of like outside agitators and stuff, and black people have, I've never been part of this at all. It's all, these fucking white people from different cities and stuff. Really like lack, I think, a pretty basic understanding that like, like political stuff comes from like the grass, like ground up. Like what do you mean? Right. America has a cohesive fucking like politics. Like people are watching national news and stuff and noticing things connected to it in their own communities. It's just scientific.
People can just get online, they hear about something, they're like, oh, that's cool, and they just get online and find out about it and figure out how to do it right away.
Yeah,
like it's not like back in the day where we had to wait, we'd hear about something 3 months later in a punk scene or something.
Yeah
They just go online and read it and then go do it. They imitate it. It happens.
Right. This is maybe just a case of boomers don't understand the internet. That might be like the entirety of this fucking guy's head.
Right.
And it's something that, like, for someone like him, politics and political action is what Donald Trump or Joe Biden tells you to do. Like the idea that people would organize on their own without like, a figurehead like bossing them around or like is just a totally foreign concept.
Right. He's the chief of police. His job is bossing people around. He's assuming if you're doing things, someone else told you to do it. Otherwise, how would you be doing it?
Yeah. Well, good.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
I think we should probably round out a little bit here, but before we finish, I wanted to talk about like a B story today. We spent the bulk of this episode bashing right. We might as well bash middle.
I like bashing them too.
Yeah. Obviously, MAGA guys and cops and shit are hilarious, but lest we not forget, liberals are very funny too. And one of them really showed it in a story that I thought was, loosely affiliated with our joke theme of being goth. We might as well cover it. It seems like it's on our field. So let's talk about this thing that happened. I'm reading from a Vice article entitled, "We Talked to the Host Accused of Doing Satanic Rituals in His Airbnb." So there's this writer who kind of went on a Twitter storm or whatever the other day, had a big tweet meltdown, a guy named Frederick T. Joseph, who's a marketing CEO and a former national surrogate for Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. He was a Bernie surrogate for a minute, but he went Warren after that, I think is the story. And he's clearly like a bougie lib. He's a black guy. That's important to the story. He brings it in his defense. And essentially what happened is he went to this Airbnb to go just like work on writing a book with a couple family members, his brother, I think a nephew or something like that, and was highly disturbed by a bunch of like kitschy knickknacks and stuff that, I guess what happened is that he decided that the house was a site for satanic rituals, and it sort of snowballed as he explored the house a little bit more and found like a little Baphomet statue and like a candle, like a Santeria candle, and then just like some art with like women's tits out and shit. And he goes into the basement.
Yeah, boobs are a big part of it.
It's essentially
Boobs are Satan.
He's essentially in like, do you remember the Simpsons episode with John Waters where he's explaining like kitsch,
Oh yeah.
The tragically, I can't remember what the word is, but a little fucking bobblehead of like a devil and a tiki chick and stuff like that. So he gets into this big fight with Airbnb because he says he went down to the basement and there were like markings on the floor for like satanic rituals and stuff. The owner responds, and he's been really trying to keep his name and his identity out of the story, so they just refer to him as Alex. But he's sort of explaining like, yeah, there's just a stain on the floor in the basement. It's like oil or something. There's a table that looked, I guess, in the complaint like an altar. He said like, no, I'm a DJ. It's for like setting up like a. Yeah, it's really funny, and it just sort of took on a life of its own, and people were arguing about it on Twitter all week. And the guy just won't take the L. He won't back down and admit that he kind of got like Scooby-Doo style spooked in a house that it's just kitschy hipster Brooklyn crap, just like a pentagram. There's a giant upside down cross on my wall. It's a joke, This is just an aesthetic. It raised interesting questions. The people, the Airbnb host, at one point said like, hey, listen, I'm an agnostic, but if I'm allowed to be a pagan, if I was a pagan, you can't tell me not to put like, sticks and stuff up in my apartment, like any more than you could tell someone like not to have like a fucking cross on the wall or whatever. Anyway, punchline to the story, I guess, is that eventually someone figured out that this is the same guy who during the primaries had said that he just walked out of a barbershop and everyone was talking about Elizabeth Warren, which, like we all know that wasn't true, right?
He's a natural storyteller. You can't make him stop.
This guy seems really, really like, just cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's like typing in all caps, a Baphomet hidden behind a dead bird in a bag, looks like the house from Hereditary. He's getting owned really hard. I don't know. I guess this story was kind of funny to me because like, you see these people and they pop up over and over again, and I'm trying to figure out what it really means. Some people have like a certain special relationship with like all of the crazy stuff that's happening right now where they keep reoccurring. Like a few weeks ago, I was triggering the libs online. I was getting yelled at by liberals for posting a joke about Biden. And it wasn't even like, this is the level that they're at. Like, fucking liberals right now are like, they're like Philadelphia sports fans. Like, they're mad and they're winning. It makes no sense, right? It was the day after the Kamala VP. I think I said something about how I was like, look, I think you should probably vote for him, but like, fuck him or something. Like, oh no, you know what I said? I said, I hope he wins, but also like it'll be really funny if he loses. Like I'm black-pilled about this or whatever.
And that's just true.
Right. Funny,
It's not even like a sentiment. It just will be funny if he loses.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when bad things happen. It's just part of comedy, And so I got dragged pretty hard by like Resistance Twitter, and then this one woman quote tweeted me, and she was like, it's always people who are never affected by any of Trump's presidency or whatever that say this. And so I responded to her and I said, like, listen, lady, ICE came to my house, right? Like, I've probably been affected by Trump's, government more than you. And you know what she ended up doing? Apologizing to me, and we became friends.
What?
We had a long conversation.
Wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and in the middle of talking to her, I kind of want to get her on the show, but it might just be a little bit exploitive because she was nice and she apologized. And somebody pointed out to me, they were like, "Do you know who that is? That's the woman who said that she wanted Beto O'Rourke to fuck her until her calves cramped."
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I see the arc here.
She's from like 2 years ago. It was just another Twitter character.
A gentle Texan boy out loose in New York.
I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure out
She sounds dope.
people with internet brain and why they keep popping back up on Twitter, but I don't know if we're going to figure
She
that
likes
out.
her
today.
Texan boys, I guess.
I guess that's true.
Mm,
Me and Beto have a lot in common, yeah. Both like standing on top of things. We're tall.
Yeah.
I like rolling my sleeves up when I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt.
oh, who doesn't?
It's a powerful look. I
Cold
don't know.
people.
I don't know.
That's you.
Anyways, to kind of put a period on this, there are here's what I'm gonna do with the story today. Here's the metaphor, right? There are a lot of it's autumn. There are a lot of scary boogeymen in the world, right? There are many monsters, but they're not real. Okay, Antifa is not coming to get you. Your Airbnb host is not doing human sacrifices in the basement. None of this is real. Relax. The cops are the real enemy. That's it.
Right.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah.
I want to say, like, I really appreciate you all giving me opportunity to kind of say my piece, and I did make a lot of jokes on here and everything, but like, the sheriff is a real threat and a real concern, and the fact that he plays by his own rules and shit and does what he wants and seems to be above the law and likes to see himself that way as like some kind of cowboy gunslinger or something is very worrisome. And lives are in danger as long as he's in power, and as long as police forces are ran this way. And it was like horrifying for me to go through when it happened. And part of the reason I reached out is because I know, like, Jake, you went through your thing with ICE and everything. So
yeah.
I figured we could relate on some level. But now, like, all the dragging that the sheriff has done to me too, like, I am paranoid everywhere I go. I live in fucking Spokane. You know what I mean? Like, this is, it's dangerous for me right now to drive around and be out in public or anything. And I can't even own a gun because I have the possession charge. So it's just dangerous, and he's made the world a lot more dangerous for me. And I think I've lost customers over it and everything. I've also gained some. So
Nice.
I don't know where that lands. But so it has been a big problem, and I just kind of laugh at things when they're really fucked up, because what else are you going to do? Like,
Right.
Yeah, goddamn right. Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, we're all in solidarity with you. Sorry that happened. I'm glad you're okay. Yeah, man. I mean, is there anything we can do to promote since we got you on the mic here? Is there anything you want to draw attention to? Where do we go from here?
Spokane Area Tenants United, organization that I founded that is, we help organize tenants, and I have plans for it that haven't completely unfolded yet, but I've got money raised and I'm trying to raise more money. So if you go to GoFundMe, Spokane Area Tenants United Mutual Aid Fund, we're bringing necessities to tenants in need. So that includes like toilet paper, paper towels, dish soap, hand soap, body wash, all that kind of stuff. Because I remember times in my life, like trying to get my shit together and being poor and having to wash the counters with body wash or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just that frustration and how defeating it feels to wash your clothes in the sink and all that kind of shit. So we just want to lessen some of the burden for tenants and make sure that they have everything they need to live in a clean environment. And especially with COVID going on, like it's even more important now. So Spokane Area Tenants United Mutual Aid Fund on GoFundMe.
Right on. Cool. Well,
That's really great you're doing that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Yeah, I'm sure we got some listeners up there. I know I met some of them last time I was out on tour up in the area. So.
Yeah, give me a call. You come back in.
So fucking Fauci ever lets comedy come back, you know?
He's like, we can go to movies and plays now, but no stand-up comedy.
Well, is he wrong?
Go to see music.
Is he
There's
wrong?
lots of barns and shit out here. We could.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
You can do like a speakeasy,
Yeah. Yeah.
secret comedy.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe next summer or something. I'm not sure how the winter's really going to shape up for that shit. I'm temporarily retired, I think is where I'm going with comedy. But I'll come out of I'm excited about coming out of retirement. I think that's a cool thing to get to do in your career, you know?
Right. When the world needs you,
Yeah.
you can come back. Not now. When it gets really bad.
Yeah. Comedians are the worst people to bring out of retirement because most of us would be like, I'm back, and here's the same jokes from 3 years ago. Suck my dick.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, didn't Seinfeld do the same routine for like 25 years or something?
There's some pretty good YouTube, like QAnon style mashup things of this. Yeah, he's done like the same jokes on the panel on late night shows and stuff. It's he's sick.
That's because they're perfected jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to complain about a perfect
it's
joke?
It's like a Picasso being, moved around to different museums.
True.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same as that.
All right, well, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's do some plugs and we'll leave. Alex, you got anything?
Yeah, if you have like a slightly unperfect house in Spokane, you should contact Jeremy about painting it. And then you can just follow me on Twitter at Patak Jokes. That's PTAK Jokes, and I'll put anything on there and a lot of unnecessary stuff.
Cool. Go ahead.
At Anders Lee here on Twitter. You can watch me on Redacted Tonight, portable.tv. And there is, as I've been mentioning on the show a lot, a primary election in Delaware for the Senate on Tuesday. That's actually could be a huge upset. Not telling you to phone bank, but that is an option that citizens of the world have in the next few days. Yes. I don't want to. We don't endorse, but this is just if you feel so inclined, it's open for you.
Okay, I see. I read you loud and clear, brother. Huh?
For Jessica Scarrain, I should mention her name. Yes.
All right. If you okay, I came up with an idea. Jeremy, you should paint the satanic Airbnb house to be more friendly. So let's connect that guy. You can paint my house to be more satanic. We'll get Jeremy some more work. What I want to plug is if you are a rich TV writer and you are angry that young comedians are not voting for Joe Biden, if someone pays me, this is fake, obviously, like legally you can't do this. Someone pays me $8,000, I will vote for Joe Biden. I just want to throw that out there.
Right.
Dana Gould,
as a joke.
whoever the fuck, the people that are always mad. The community lady, hey, you got $8,000? That's another vote for Joe Biden. This is important. So let's go ahead and get that going. I don't even know what I meant, but get it going. And
let's get it going.
Yeah. And listen to Why You Mad. And hopefully someday I will come out of retirement and I'll come do comedy, whether it be in a room or in a barn or whatever. Maybe.
For $16,000, Jake will come out of retirement.
Yeah, for that's
wherever
my
it is. Yeah, it will probably be in 2022. It looks like.
That's
I will get in a hot tub with 20 people with COVID for $16,000.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, like a fear
Well, it's
factor
not a
stunt.
competition, so let's hope it doesn't come to that.
I feel like the heat would kill the COVID. That's probably not how it works.
Okay, well, a cold bath. I don't know.
I don't know. All right. Well, I think that's it. Oh, give us a review on iTunes. It helps us. Yeah, because I'm trying to boost our numbers because much like Jeremy loses and gains customers because of his political actions, we lose and gain, subscribers and patrons and fans. And I get a lot of angry emails, and I also get a lot of good ones, and it's a mess. So help us out. Subscribe to our Patreon for bonus episodes or to support the show, buy merch, all that stuff. Yeah, and then we can just keep this goddamn thing going. All right, well, that's it. It's finished.